room. Not everybody's at the dais, but I have a quorum in the room. Ms. Voss, let the record show that we call this public hearing to order on September the 4th, 2018 at 6:03 p.m. We'll move right now to, if the board doesn't mind, if there's no objection, I'd like to move to item number 22 to go ahead and, since we're going to continue it, I'd like to move to that one first. Any objection? Item number 22, Mr. Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, this is an item that was for your consideration this evening on a land use matter for a standalone hospital. However, earlier this afternoon we received correspondence from the applicant's counsel requesting a continuance to your September 24 meeting at 6 o'clock p.m. So we recommend that you make that motion.
Motion been made by Commissioner Lindley, seconded by Commissioner Deloge. Any objection? Seeing none, we'll call it pass 6-0. Commissioner Daly out of chambers. We'll move on now. We'll go back onto the regular agenda and go to item number 19.
Mr. Chairman, this is your first public hearing on the adoption of the FY 18-19 tentative millage rates and tentative budgets. And with that, I will hand it to you for the statutorily prescribed script.
There's a very structured script that we have to go through. Audience on TV, in the crowd. They'll give it to you next year, buddy. Wait your turn. Wait your turn. We can read along. All right. So, like I said, this is very scripted for the audience and for those looking on TV. And so, as I'll read, there'll be a part for myself, then the county administrator, and we get through it that way. This is the first of two required public hearings on the Leon County budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. The second and final public hearing will be held Monday, September 24th, 2018 at 6 p.m. If you wish to speak, please complete a speaker's card and turn it into the clerk. Now, the county administrator, Vince Long, will read the millage rate into the public record. Before he does that, Mr. Commissioner-elect of District 3, Rick Meyer, would like to make it in here on time, sir.
Yes, sir. Especially for public hearing.
Yeah, don't when we're talking money, don't make it a habit. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, the proposed aggregate millage rate is 8.8144 mils, which is 3.91% over the aggregate rolled back millage rate of 8.4827 mils. Ad valorem revenues will increase due to an upturn in property values and will be used to support the following: enhanced support of law enforcement and corrections, including additional deputies and correctional officers, sustaining a high level of county-wide service delivery, continued community investment in parks, greenways, roads, and sidewalks, and the establishment of sufficient reserves anticipated because of the impacts from future potential property tax exemptions. Commissioners, this has been a very thorough and deliberate process. The entire budget, of course, is a direct result of all of your feedback and direction throughout the process. I say that because we have another presentation, if you'd like, at this point, but I will note that we have no speakers at this point on this item. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you.
Commissioners, is everybody okay with foregoing the presentation, moving right through the script? Thank you. At this time, the individuals that have turned in speaker cards to the clerk are allowed to speak. Mr. Attorney, are there any speakers? Mr. Administrator, are there any speakers?
We have no speaker cards.
Florida statute requires that the board to address the millage rate before addressing each budget. The board must vote on each millage rate and budget separately. I will now entertain the following motions. Option number 1, adopt via attached resolution the tentative fiscal year 18-19 countywide millage rate of 8.3144 mils. Mr. Attorney, as I understand, we have to take these individually, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion for option number 1?
Second.
Option number 1 has been moved by Commissioner Daly, seconded by Commissioner Deloge. Any objection? Seeing none, we'll show it is accepted. Option number 2, adopt via attached resolution the tentative fiscal year 18-19 countywide budget. Is there a motion for option number 2?
Motion. Second.
Option number 2 has been moved by Commissioner Lindley, seconded by Commissioner Daly. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Option number 3, adopt via attached resolution the tentative FY 18-19 Emergency Medical Services MSTU millage rate of 0.5 mils. Option number 3 has been moved by Commissioner Lindley, seconded by Commissioner Deloge. Any objection? Motion carries. Option number 4, adopt via attached resolution the tentative fiscal year 18-19 Emergency Medical Services MSTU budget. Is there a motion? Second. Motion made by the Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries without objection. I will now entertain a motion to direct staff to advertise in accordance to the Florida statute the tentative millage rate and budgets for fiscal year 2018-2019 and the date, time, and place of the public hearing to adopt the final millage rate and budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. Will somebody make that motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we also said that would be on the 24th of on a Monday. Was that what Vince
Yes, sir, on the 24th.
Why is that?
Because the 25th is a holiday. That Tuesday is a holiday. It's a religious holiday.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Motion made by Commissioner Proctor. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Deloge. Any objection? Motion carries without objection. Mr. Attorney, I believe that is the extent of my script.
It is for today.
Did I do good?
Excellent.
I can read. All right. We'll move on now to item number 20, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this item seeks the board's approval of an ordinance amending the Land Development Code to remove subjective language related to compatibility, permissible density, and allowable building types in the RP zoning district in an effort to provide additional clarity and certainty of development standards to property owners in adjacent neighborhoods. Commissioners, this will be very familiar to you. You've taken policy action on this item previously. This is the first and only public hearing. We have no speakers on this item. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Option 1 has been moved by Commissioner Lindley, seconded by Commissioner Deloge. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Dozier, you're in there.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I will support the motion. I just wanted to put it in the record. We did have a citizen who wrote us about this issue, or at least corresponded with staff. He's in my district, so I may have heard from him, and he was unable to attend today due to health issues. So there were some questions that he brought up about single-family detached versus dwelling and things of that nature. Mr. County Administrator, I just wanted to ask for your comment on this. The item is more focused on the definitions and doesn't necessarily create more latitude in any one single category. That would come out in zoning decisions and other things like that. Is that?
That's correct.
Fair. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier, for your comments. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 21. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, item 21 is the first and only public hearing for the Lazy Days Campground and Recreational Vehicle Park. It's a Type C development plan application. Staff is recommending your approval. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. We have no speakers on this item.
Is there a motion for staff recommendation? Option number 1? Staff recommendation been moved by Commissioner Deloge, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Administrator, is there more business to come before the county?
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our public hearings.
Thank you, sir. Anything from commissioners? As we all know, just a real quick note, our dear colleague, I'm sorry, we do have a speaker.
We have one speaker on non-agenda items, Melissa Villar.
Name and address for the record, please, ma'am. 3 minutes. That's okay.
Hello. I am here speaking on behalf of the cannabis community for the need for a civil citation ordinance, or an ordinance, a cannabis possession ordinance. I did have a conversation with staff and with the chairman regarding a citation. And the idea that it would preempt state law is not altogether factual. We do have Florida statutes does state that there is a juvenile civil citation in place. However, it is not being utilized in the county or the city. So as far as requiring lesser or cannabis ordinance, right now the adult civil citation program is a cottage industry for a service provider. When I had a discussion with the district attorney, he said, well, you know, it's okay if somebody is maybe in college to get a citation, but someone else. So we are talking about economic and social inequalities in this county. I do not believe the adult civil citation program, it is unconstitutional because you have to admit guilt before you can receive a citation, which is unconstitutional. And the fact that you need any requirement of substance abuse it's creating a cottage industry. When you're paying $300 and some odd, and the information that was gathered, the people that could not pay that were referred back to the court, they were arrested for petty theft. So because of the adult civil citation, including 8 different nonviolent offenses, petty theft, and the majority had stolen food. So just if you're not aware, I do believe I sent that that memo to everyone. If not, I will again, and that was from Jack Campbell. So I just wanted to address the need for a cannabis possession ordinance specifically. And I will keep moving forward whether it's state legislation that will force the county and the city to actually create a cannabis possession ordinance and not an agreement, which I feel, like I said, is a cottage industry for a service provider. Whether it's a stop and release or a simple ticket, but we do need to do something to end the economic and the social inequalities in this county.
Commissioner Brockner.
Chairman, I'm just wondering how
Thank
long.
you, ma'am.
I'm just wondering, given the speaker's comments tonight, how long will it take our board to adopt cannabis possession of 20 grams or less, and that we would join the rest of the state of Florida? I lifted and brought this issue before our board. Unfortunately, my son was arrested. 21 grams would have been above the misdemeanor level. On the Tuesday it brought up, I requested the board, we brought it back, and somehow timing the board, we just closed our eyes and didn't want to deal with that. I'm pondering, is there something about looking at this issue that we morally reject? Are we, what is it? I think we should bring this back. The state, since the time that we've looked at it, have actually adopted, we've legalized medicinal marijuana, and I mean, unless it's something misdemeanor that we're measuring, and not measuring in the majors and measuring in the minors, I just think that we ought to lift this and bring this back and look at it. And the issue pertaining to me personally, that moment is past. So if it was something that you thought that was personal to me that I was seeking, it wouldn't even help no way. But that moment is past, and maybe we can see the rest of the citizens, the college students, the civil citation program, I think the elements of paying, in which I thought Mr. Campbell made good points about the state. We would be paying this village, you have to pay this village $300-400. But the thing that was, I thought, unconstitutional was it was discretionary to the law officer if he thought that the behavior of the victim met their approval. And it was the subjective nature that was left within the discrepancy of the arresting officer to let you go or not let you go based on their perception that you were being cooperative. And I just don't know what cooperative looked like. And the question of whether or not, if you lived in the right neighborhood, you just looked cooperative. And if you were down in other areas, you just looked like you were not cooperating. I don't know. And that's a part that I could not support in that measure. But Herb, are there any reasons that would prohibit our board from revisiting something that had already been crafted by your office? If we could kind of step up behind the will of the voters, of about almost 70% of the people in Florida approve a medicinal. And then with the lawsuits now, I think, pending in front of the Supreme Court, that the legislature should not have just created 4 slots for merely 4 growers, but that it should be an open industry to whomsoever, which is making sense, that they got a lottery for 4 or 5 people to hit the jackpot to the exclusion of the rest of the state. An industry where the state creates a monopoly for 4 or 5 people, that's being challenged as well. But are there reasons that would be prohibitive, given the nature, given the voters, the trend lines on marijuana, that our community could not consider the decriminalization of marijuana and to make it not a discretionary thing for the police officer, but if you got other communities are saying 20 grams or less is just a misdemeanor with a citation or a ticket.
Mr. Attorney?
Well, Commissioners, the answer is it's still a federal offense, and it's still a statutory criminal violation to possess marijuana. I don't believe that a Board of County Commissioners or a municipal commission could adopt an ordinance which supersedes those laws. I think some have made an argument that it would provide an alternative for law enforcement, but we don't control any law enforcement entities here in Leon County to make them utilize an alternative misdemeanor or municipal ordinance violation. So I disagree with the Speaker. I believe that you cannot supersede the state statutes. And that's why there's this voluntary agreement among the providers, including the Sheriff's Office and the Tallahassee Police Department, Public Defender, State Attorney's Office. They got together and created this alternative system, but we can't make them do that. They did that voluntarily. And so I don't believe you have the authority, medical marijuana, constitutional amendment notwithstanding, that did not authorize the legalization of recreational marijuana. And I think you're still in that position.
If I might, and I don't disagree theoretically, technically, but the federal government has yet to succeed in challenging California. It has not challenged a one against Oregon. It has not challenged a one against the state of Colorado. And I think Massachusetts and a couple other. In the federal government, this is an area that has failed to act in, certainly not to preempt. And I'm saying that at least under the Obama administration, there was no effort by the Justice Department to thwart the states along, I guess, the notion of the 10th Amendment, that the power is not granted to the federal government in year to the states. And they treated it as such. I know that the Trump administration and his Justice Department will snatch children from their parents, but they haven't enforced or had anything to say about marijuana. So the past 2 administrations ain't did nothing about it. And I hear technically what you're saying, but notwithstanding what you're saying, a precedent and spreading, growing precedent is that states are doing what they want to do in the field of marijuana. And we would be consistent with other major municipalities in Florida who are subject to the same ideas that you're saying, yet they are carving out protection for citizens, and in particular young people who may have recreational marijuana. And I think that with the trend growing as it has been, and those Florida counties have not been challenged by the Justice Department, Attorney General Bondi, the U.S. Attorney, nobody. So it's an area that technically you're right, but there's moot silence with regard to the feds doing anything to step to the states or local municipalities. I think that we would be in good company in the state of Florida to pursue this measure consistent with other municipalities commissioners. I think that that time we have grown to a point where our state recognizes same-sex marriages, dating, and all of that. I mean, a number of issues have advanced and moved forward that is not illegal, it's not immoral, and your insurance company will pay your surviving spouse. But in this area of marijuana usage or possession, it's still illegal to, and this is amazing. We have made great strides and evolved in some serious issues that once upon a time, and marijuana is just stagnant. And we have that authority, commissioners, I believe, to move forward. And I'm not, Commissioner, I mean, Mayor Daley, we don't want you to get in trouble with this matter. We won't bring this up for November. But I think that we have an opportunity, and I'm asking this commission to be, to allow for modernity to capture your spirits, and that we're in a modern age, and let's be a part of that age. And marijuana has been supported by a majority of our citizens, and I don't see the government, the boogeyman, Trump, anybody else coming to talk about marijuana.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lowe's, you dare follow that? Go for it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. The shorter version is, I mean, and I've been to California, Alaska, Oregon, Washington State, Colorado, just about all the western states where they've legalized marijuana, trying to figure out how do you get in front of this. We can't, as Herb said, we can't change the law. All we can do is change the way we process the people. And we have 26 arresting authorities in this county alone. And I know I went out and met with President Thrasher after I had an incident where a friend of mine's child got caught with a small amount of dope and got arrested. And it's not what it should. This whole civil citation process is designed to keep them from going to jail, but you have to let the street law enforcement have the discretion as to whether or not they do that. And therein lies, with all due respect, Commissioner Proctor, there's an issue because you have some kids that will take a swing at the cop or run from the cops, and that's going to provoke them to arrest them. That's just the way it's going to work. Whereas if a kid says, look, and that happens. There's just no way to get around that. So the cop has to have that authority. We have, though, in this country, we have 5% of the world's population. We have 25% of the world's incarcerated people. We got a problem. We consume 80% of the world's opioids. If we don't get in front of this as a society, and counties are front line of criminal justice, we're missing out. So I think our role and our job and our position in this part is to work with the law enforcement and make sure that they're administering civil citations in a fair and balanced way so that they can make sure that we keep people out of our jails that shouldn't be there. There are more nonviolent, unadjudicated men in the prisons across the the jails across the United States today than there are in the entire state and federal prison system. I mean, the system's broken, and we need to get in front of it. But I'm not sure we can't just jump in front of the law as it stands unless we're the state legislature. That's a different role. So anyway, my 2 cents.
Thank you, ma'am, for bringing this issue forward. Commissioner Proctor, I'm guessing that, as you said, if you want to bring it back in November sometime, I guess we'll talk about it again then. But as I see right now, there's no interest in us agendaing this right now. So we'll move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Mr. Matthew Isabel. Name and address for record, please, sir.
How you guys doing? Matthew Isbell. Thank you for letting me speak. This actually relates to the discussion you guys.
Sorry, sir. Name, address.
Oh, sorry, 2039 North Meridian Road, Tallahassee, Florida, 32303. This actually relates to what you guys were just talking about, but some of you, like especially Deloge, hit some important points. So I just wanted to like point a key thing out. When Broward County, and I know this because I know some of the commissioners down there, when they passed their ordinance that sort of allows civil citation, they did a conjunction. They worked with the sheriff on it, Sheriff Israel down there. They had this meetings, they workshopped it out ahead of time to, work with his department so that his officers would go with it. Different city police departments worked with it. So there was a lot of talk ahead of time. And I would just sort of like to see the county commission and the staff, look at what Broward did. And I think Palm did a similar thing to talk with, Sheriff McNeil, who is his own person. But I think it'd be worth having that conversation with him and the TPD and seeing, okay, what can we all come to an agreement on is the best policy, what the amount is, what the fine is, anything like that. But there's definitely something that can be done, and obviously these are the discretions of law enforcement, but I think there needs to be some more working with them because I've not seen a lot of that, as I follow this issue here. So I just kind of wanted to point that out there. Look at what Broward did. They worked with, I think it was like the sheriff's office and like 10 different city police departments. So there's definitely a way to kind of work this out. So just wanted to kind of make that point. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Commissioner Partner.
Chairman, one of the advantages that we have with this issue currently, if the sheriff's office is a starting point, is that Sheriff Walt McNeil was very clear during his campaign that he favored and supported the decriminalization of marijuana. And given the clear consideration of Sheriff McNeil, I think that it advances the point beyond the first, second, and third steps. We have a sheriff who's very, very clearly, and I'm very glad that he was not elected and then decided after being elected, but he was quite upfront on the front end to say, this is what I'm about, these are my values. And he's had a plethora of experiences in law enforcement, including being a police chief, a secretary of corrections, a secretary of DOJ, president of the International Association of Police Chiefs. He had calling card and credentials at the White House. But his view of this particular issue, given his broad experience and background in law enforcement, was that he favored decriminalizing marijuana. So if we can remain shoulders up, intellectual, cognitive about the matter, we're in a very good space to move forward with a sheriff who's ready to move forward. I wanted to cite that.
Thank you. I have no more speakers on this item. Seeing none. Anything else from commissioners? As you all may be aware, our former colleague, our property appraiser, Akin Akinyemi, his wife passed. And I just want to make a quick announcement about when the funeral as well as the celebration is going to be. A private service will be held at 4 p.m. on Saturday, September 8th at Unity Eastside Church in Tallahassee. The service will be followed by a celebration of life at 6 p.m. at Unity. All are welcome to attend the celebration. In lieu of flowers, she's asking that donations be made to RMHC of North Central Florida, Inc., 1600 Southwest 14th Street, Gainesville, Florida. I'm sure the board wouldn't mind if we sent something, a letter, and I'm thinking maybe a letter of condolences from the board to Commissioner Akinyemi, our former Commissioner Akinyemi and his family, as well as maybe a flower arrangement as well. Flowers for the service as well. Any objection to that? Thank you. Mr. Administrator? Mr. Attorney, anything? All right. Motion to adjourn? To adjourn.